As we've already primed the internal side of the roof panel, it's now time for us to prime the top panel. So what I tend to do is just give it a light sanding with my sanding block over the top, and we'll give it a light couple of coats with the grey primer, and then we can then add the delicate framework to go on this. And obviously if you've painted the underside of this roof panel a different colour to grey, you may get a little bit of bleed through, so you may have to do a little bit of touching up. But obviously I've painted underneath grey, and I'm going to do the external grey as well, so I won't need to do any of that. So let's go and prime the top panel. So the roof panels have both been painted, both sides in grey. That's the underside, because that's the side I haven't sanded. This is the top side. I've given it a light sanding. Give it a quick coat and then give it a light sanding just to get a nice surface. And obviously then we have our top frame. Now this is extremely fragile, so be very careful handling these. They can break very easily. And we need to make sure that we get this around the right way. So if I lift it up, you will see when I've put it on here, it will fill the frame. I'm just going to move it over slightly, and it will fit snugly on the top. So what we've got to do is got to get hold of the top frame again, flip it upside down, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding some PVA glue all round. Then we're going to flip it back over again and mount it on that. So what I'll do is I'll do that now, and I'll join you back when I've done that. Okay, so I've gone round, literally, I think near enough done every single panel with glue. I've thinned my glue out on this particular case, a bit thicker when the window surrounds and round the outsides, but the slats going across, I've thinned the glue to give it a light coating. And I think once you turn this over, you should be able to still move it around. Now on my instructions I did mention that if you wanted to go to town and have the roof frame more prototypical, then do not add the glue to the bottom of your roof. So obviously that's going to be that end, because if you wanted to not have the ridge and cut it so rainwater can go across into the gutter, you mustn't put glue on that top rail. Now I wouldn't recommend that you cut this anyway, because this is so thin, and I think once you cut it, it's going to snap and break, and I think you'll end up regretting it. But somebody has mentioned the roof would look better without it, but we could not simply laser cut this without a frame on the outside. So when it's painted, I think they look really nice. So is anybody going to really complain? So anyway, if you want to do that at your own risk. But that glue is now on there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over and put it on this panel here. When it's starting to dry, just tip it upside down, and you'll see inside where the roof panels are for the glass, there's a tiny little lip, so just get a wet brush and go around the outside of there to make sure you haven't got any lumpy bits of glue, because obviously we're going to fit the window panels in there. So just run a wet brush around the outside, get rid of any excess glue. And obviously I've tipped it upside down, and I've just given it a little bit of firmness to try and keep the top frame from coming away. You may find that you have to go back with some glue and just put a tiny little bit here and there where the top frame has come away. It is extremely difficult to do. Just take your time. If you take your time and do this, and say make sure you get your top frame the right way around, and add plenty of glue. It can be done, but just take plenty of time. This is the most important part. This is the visual part from the top of the roof. You don't want to be getting this wrong, so I would suggest at least 10-15 minutes on each panel here, getting it correct. Okay, so that's my panel on. It's glued around the outside in a couple of places, just there in the corner of the window frame and that corner of the window frame there. It's just coming away slightly. The glue is a little bit runnier than what perhaps I should have made it, so I've just gone over it with a bit more glue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a weight over the top, so just like a piece of wood running across the frame, so it keeps it held down, and that'll be dry in about 10 minutes, and then we can move on. But hopefully when you've done yours and glued it will all stick nicely. But as I said, you can always come back and just go over it again, because we're going to be doing a top coat on this one anyway. So the top frames have now dried. These are dried overnight and I'll come back to them. So what we're going to do now is give them their top coat of grey primer. I'm going to give it 2 or 3 light coats evenly across, and hopefully that will suffice. So we're going to do that now, and we'll come back when they're done. Now the top 2 roof panels have been primed. It's all blended in nicely now, so we're going to just let them dry for about another hour so they're fully dry, and then we're going to turn them over and put the glass panels in. For gluing in the windows into the top frame, I use this glue, which is a deluxe superphatic glue, which bonds wood, plastic, and it's got a nice tube that you put on top, and you can put a tiny slither of glue inside the framework and then literally drop your pane of glass in, and it'll bond to that in about 20 minutes. So that's the glue we recommend. I'm sure you could still use PVA if you wanted to, but that's the one we use. Deluxe superphatic glue. So the window panes are now in and they've fully dried, and I think from hopefully an angle, very difficult to see them, there goes a reflection of some clean glass.